The pen shook in my hand as I signed the last paper. The man across the desk stamped it hard. Thump. Just like that, the house was sold. The house my son thought was his. Outside, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from my son's wife. "Where are you?" she wrote. I did not reply. My son was at work, sitting in an office, smiling at people who respected him. He had no idea that, while he was away, his world was changing forever. I stood up, folded the papers, and felt something heavy lift from my chest. I should have felt fear. Instead, I felt calm. Too calm. Because this was not where the story began. This was the end of a long road of silence. And the worst moment, the moment that pushed me here, was still burning in my mind. Before we continue, please comment where you are watching from and subscribe so you can hear more stories like this. It started on a quiet morning. The kind of morning that feels safe. I woke up early, as I always did, and made tea. My hands are old now. They shake when I pour hot water. I live alone in a small room behind the big house. The big house I paid for, brick by brick, year by year. My son and his wife lived in it. I told myself I was lucky. Many fathers are alone. At least my son was close. That morning, I heard shouting. Loud voices. Angry voices. I walked into the living room slowly. My son stood there, tall and strong. His wife sat on the couch, arms crossed, watching. I asked a simple question. Why is there shouting so early? That was all. My son turned to me. His eyes were hard, not the eyes of the little boy I once carried on my back. He said I was interfering. He said I was useless. The words hurt, but I stayed quiet. Fathers learn to swallow pain. Then it happened. He raised his hand. The first slap shocked me. The second made my ears ring. I tried to speak, but more slaps came. I lost count after a while. His wife did not stop him. She did not look away. She watched. Later, I counted them in my head. 15 slaps. 15 times my own son struck me. I fell to the floor. My cheek burned. My heart felt colder than my skin. When he finished, he said something that changed everything. He pointed at the door and said, "This is my house. You own nothing here." I did not cry. I did not shout. I stood up slowly. I wiped my face. And I nodded. That night, I did not sleep. I sat in the dark and thought about all the years I worked. All the money I saved. All the papers I kept safe. I remembered one simple truth. The house was never his. The next morning, my son went to work, proud and unaware. I picked up my folder of documents and walked out. Behind me, in that house, the silence waited. I walked slowly down the street that morning, holding my folder close to my chest. The sun was bright, but I felt cold inside. Every step hurt, not just my body, but my heart. People passed me and did not know what had happened. They did not know that a father had been struck by the son he raised. I kept my head down and kept walking. As I walked, memories followed me like shadows. I remembered my son as a child. I remembered teaching him how to ride a bicycle. I remembered working late nights so he could go to a good school. When his mother died, it was just the two of us. I never remarried. I told myself my son was enough. I gave him everything I had. I reached the bus stop and sat down. My face still hurt. I could feel the shape of his hand on my skin. People stared, but no one asked questions. Old men learn that silence is safer than truth. The bus took me to the other side of town. The lawyer's office was small and quiet. The man behind the desk looked at me with kind eyes. He asked if I was sure. I told him yes. My voice did not shake. I had already made my choice the night before. We went through the papers slowly. He explained everything again, even though I already knew. The house was in my name. It always had been. I had allowed my son to live there. I had trusted him. Trust is easy to give, but hard to take back. As the lawyer spoke, my phone buzzed again. This time it was my son. I did not answer. I was not ready to hear his voice. I needed to finish what I had started. The lawyer asked me why I wanted to sell so fast. I did not tell him about the slaps. I only said, I need peace. He nodded, like he understood more than I said. When I signed the papers, my hand shook for a moment. I paused. For 1 second, I saw my son as a boy again, smiling, calling me, Papa. That moment passed. I signed. After leaving the office, I did not go back to the house. I went to a small park and sat under a tree. Children were playing. Parents were laughing. Life was moving on, even though mine felt broken. I wondered if I had failed as a father. I wondered if I should have spoken earlier, stood stronger, said no when it mattered. Then my phone rang again. This time, I answered. My son was shouting. He asked where I was. He said strangers were coming to the house, taking pictures, asking questions. He said his wife was crying. He said I had no right. I listened quietly. Then he said the words that made my heart stop. Dad, he said, his voice shaking now, they say the house has been sold. I closed my eyes. I felt the wind on my face. I took a deep breath. Yes, I said calmly. It has. There was silence on the line. Then his voice broke into panic and fear. And at that moment, I knew the storm had only just begun. There was shouting on the phone, loud and wild. My son was no longer strong. He was scared. He kept asking how this could happen. He said the house was his home. He said his wife was pregnant. He said I was ruining his life. I listened without interrupting. When he finally stopped talking, I spoke slowly. I never owned anger, I said. I owned that house. He hung up. I sat in the park for a long time after that. I felt tired, like all my years had fallen on my shoulders at once. I did not feel happy. Revenge is not sweet at first. It is heavy. It makes you think. I wondered if I had gone too far. I wondered if a father should ever hurt his own child, even when that child hurts him first. Later that day, I went to a small guest house. The room was clean but simple. One bed, one chair, one small window. It felt right. I needed space. I needed quiet. I needed to remember who I was before I became afraid in my own son's house. That evening, my son's wife called. Her voice was sharp. She accused me of planning this for a long time. She said I was evil. She said my son had lost respect for me because I was weak. I almost laughed when she said that. Weak men do not build houses. Weak men do not work for 40 years without rest. Weak men do not walk away instead of fighting back. I told her one thing. Respect is learned. And today, you are learning. She hung up. That night, I could not sleep. I kept seeing the slaps in my mind. I kept hearing the sound. Not loud, but clear. I remembered how his wife had watched without stopping him. That hurt more than the slaps. Silence can be cruel. The next morning, I went back to the lawyer's office. There was more to do. The new owner wanted the house quickly. Everything was moving fast now. Too fast for my son to stop. As I was leaving the office, I saw my son's car pull up. He got out and ran toward me. His face was red. His eyes were wild. People stopped to watch. He grabbed my arm hard. Fix this, he said. Now. I looked at his hand on my arm. I looked into his eyes. I did not raise my voice. Let go, I said. He did not. He shouted. He said, I had embarrassed him. He said everyone would laugh at him. He said I owed him my life. People around us were whispering. Phones came out. Someone was recording. I pulled my arm free. You already took enough from me, I said. That is when he did it again. He raised his hand in public. And this time, before it touched my face, someone screamed, stop. Everything froze. The shout came from a woman standing near the door. She stepped forward fast. Other people followed. Someone pulled my son back before his hand could reach my face. He struggled and cursed, but they held him. My heart was beating hard, but my body felt strangely calm. I had already lived through worse. A security guard arrived. Then another. They asked questions. My son tried to explain, but his words came out angry and broken. He said I was lying. He said I was trying to destroy him. I said nothing. I had learned that silence can speak louder than shouting. The guards asked if I wanted to call the police. I looked at my son. His chest was rising and falling fast. For a moment, I saw fear in his eyes. Not anger. Fear. I shook my head. No, I said. Let him go. They released him. He stepped back, breathing hard. People were still watching. Some shook their heads. Some whispered. My son felt smaller now. He turned and walked away without another word. I went back to the guest house and closed the door. My legs felt weak. I sat on the bed and stared at the wall. I asked myself a hard question. Had I raised him wrong? Or had I stayed silent too long? Fathers are taught to endure, but endurance without boundaries can turn love into permission. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again and again. Messages. Missed calls. My son's wife. His friends. Even relatives I had not spoken to in years. They all said the same thing in different ways. Forgive him. He is your son. Family should not go this far. No one asked how many times he slapped me. In the evening, I received a call from the new house owner. He said he planned to move in sooner than expected. He asked if there would be any trouble. I told him the truth. The people living there do not want to leave. He sighed and said he would handle it legally. I hung up and felt a knot form in my stomach. I knew what that meant. Letters, notices, deadlines. My son would not take this quietly. I had pushed him into a corner, and cornered people can become dangerous. That night, I dreamed of the house. I dreamed it was empty. Clean, quiet, no shouting, no fear. When I woke up, my phone was ringing. It was my son. His voice was low now. Too calm. He said he wanted to talk. He said he was sorry. He said he understood. He asked me to come back to the house so we could settle things like family. I closed my eyes. I knew this calm was not peace. It was the quiet before something terrible happened. I did not go back to the house. That decision saved my life. Instead, I asked my son to meet me in a public place the next morning. A small cafe near the bus station. Many people. Many eyes. He agreed quickly. Too quickly. That told me everything I needed to know. When I arrived, he was already there. His wife was not with him. He stood up when he saw me. His face looked tired. His voice was soft. He said he was sorry. He said anger had controlled him. He said he had learned his lesson. He asked me to stop the sale. He said we could be a family again. I listened. Then I asked one simple question. Why did you slap me? He did not answer. He looked away. Silence filled the space between us. I stood up slowly. This is the lesson, I said. Love without respect becomes danger. I am your father, not your enemy. I turned to leave. That is when he lost control again. He grabbed my arm. Hard. People looked up. Chairs moved. I pulled free and stepped back. My voice was calm, but clear. Do not touch me. The cafe owner called security. My son shouted. He blamed me. He blamed his wife. He blamed everyone but himself. Security arrived. This time, I did not protect him. I told them everything. The slaps. The threats. The house. The police came. My son was taken away. Later that week, the house was emptied. The new owner moved in. My son and his wife had to leave. Relatives stopped calling. Friends stopped taking sides. The noise slowly died. I moved into a small, quiet apartment. It was not big, but it was peaceful. For the first time in years, I slept without fear. I touched my face in the mirror and saw an old man who had finally chosen dignity. Months later, my son came to see me. He looked different. Smaller. He apologized again, this time without anger. I listened, but I did not rush forgiveness. Some lessons must stay sharp to be remembered. I told him the truth. A father's job is to love. But a man's job is to protect himself. This story is not about revenge. It is about boundaries. It is about teaching respect before silence turns into violence. If you are listening to this, remember this lesson. Never raise your hand against the one who raised you. And never mistake kindness for weakness.